I want to talk about a different kind of extreme example just before we go to the break. I want to talk about the public service and about laziness. But of course, I repeat myself. The public sector union is pushing for more staff to work from home as part of their ongoing pay negotiations with the federal government. They want a 20% pay rise over the next 3 years and the right to work unlimited time from home. At the same time, you've got the bureaucrats at the Ambulance Victoria going to the Workplace Tribunal to avoid having to go back into the office for 3 days a week. That's right, you heard me correctly. Not the full 5 days. They don't even want to be in the office 3 days a week. Evelyn, how do the public service get away with this?
I actually don't know how they get away with it, but I tell you what, it's not just something that's happening here in Australia, because in America, I think it was Disney, Amazon, Apple, they had to mandate their employees to return to the office. They wouldn't voluntarily do it. So you've got to go, it happens for two reasons. One, employees prefer to work at home. Or two, they simply weren't doing what they should be doing at home and they had to come back into the office. But I think I think COVID really did a number on people, because people started working from home in their pajamas and they thought, oh, this is easy, I can do this. But there's a great proverb, and as a fellow believer, you would know the proverb, but it talks about how if you want to kill that God-given work ethic, you feed a man for doing minimal work. And I think that's exactly what we have allowed to happen. That's exactly what we did. And now people are trapped in this place where they're like, I don't want to take my pajamas off. I don't want to have to put a uniform on.
Paul, the government have offered the public service an 11% pay rise over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
51% of unionists voted in favour of accepting it, and the union have said no. A majority of votes, no, we're still going to hold out for more.
Well, as the Voice referendum shows, that obviously the majority can often be wrong. Don't we know this? Look, I've been thinking about this, and obviously I'll talk about it on my show as well, which is the laziness. I agree with everything about all this. But there is also just a slight thing I have to mention. I think a lot of people hate their job. Right? They actually genuinely, like, we live this great life, right? We've got, a lot of people watching lived a great life, but there's a lot of people who hate going to work. Yeah. Like, they literally hate the drudge, the travel, all the rest of it. They hate the people, they hate the task, because they live for something else. Right. If you live for work and you're working from home, that's crazy, right? I understand if you don't live for work or it doesn't serve that role, why you find a way to get out of it. But back on script. The union's a disgrace.
It's a great point you make, though, because it's,
it's kind of true for most people.
Most people on television, or most people commentating in the media or whatever else, are blessed because they love their jobs, they enjoy them. So you're coming from a place of that. But if you're doing something that you know,
like working for them,
but also to be fair, I think a lot of people would have been able to juggle kids and family life in a way that they were never able to before it was possible or considered possible to work from home. Yeah. Childcare is prohibitively expensive, as we know, and of course for young kids might not always be the most appropriate thing. But the real kicker in this story, and it is just absolutely amazing, is that a newspaper, the Grand Old Herald Sun, the Grand Dame of Melbourne, found it necessary to put in the article a paragraph noting that paramedics themselves, ambulance officers themselves, would not be able to work from home.
Thank goodness for that.
But does that not tell you, though, that you have the people who are doing literally arguably the most important job in the world, literally out on the street saving people's lives? They don't have that luxury, but the bureaucrats in charge of it are going to fight to the death for it. And again, it is that blue-collar, white-collar divide that we saw during COVID, saw exploited by those on the left more than anyone else, and that basically became the teals.
Well, literally, 0 film critics declared to be essential workers during COVID, right? 0 philosophy students, But so we saw that, right? And particularly it's the people earning 4/5 of bugger all, working at supermarkets, all the rest of it. And again, what lesson did we learn after that about how we value and what we value in society? We didn't. In the same way that, not to reopen it, but the conversation about China, right? About the decoupling. Yep. What lesson did we learn to say, okay, should 98% of our medicines come from that, or should we find a way at a loss when you government actually pumping out this stuff, but we don't do it. Instead, in the same way, again, the anti-Semitism stuff and the idea that it's like, oh well, because somebody else is going to carry on, we'll just find the way just to sort of let the Wookiee win. Well, guess what? Like, you're not going to get a better society unless you actually confront these sorts of issues. But of course, because all of these areas have interest groups that plug back into a media that will put them forward, back to the original conversation about how Australian politics is about what we know we don't like. Shapiro talks about this all the time, the incentive structure, right? The incentive structure is completely built to what people bitch about as opposed to what anyone's planning to fix.
But also, like, ambulance officers literally have blue collars. And the Labor Party is wondering why perhaps people are turning off them. Well, I reckon you'd have a pretty good chance of finding out if you just put yourself in the mind of someone who is actually out there dealing with the junkies, dealing with the drunks, dealing with the violent people, dealing with people
what's
out there
happened on Melbourne Cup Day.
seeing death in the face every single day, and you see, you see the bureaucratic management above you, and indeed their union, going into bat for them to be able to stay at home, but saying, "Oh no, sorry, little frontline worker, you've still got to go out there." And
You're missing the point. It's selfish that Australians who are about to have a heart attack cannot find someone's house who's an ambo driver and just go bloody there.
That's right. Yeah.
You're missing the point.
We're going